Hey everyone, it's Liz, and to kick off this channel I wanted to start off with a paranormal activity type of vlog video between when I was born to about 10 minutes ago when something weird happened again. Wow! Anyways, if you're interested in this kind of content, we're going to be doing kind of exploration videos, ghost hunting, our own experiences, and ways to kind of become more aware and interested and understand why it's important. And just to have a good time. Hang in tight, I'm going to cover a lot of stuff. I hope you enjoy, and let's just get into it. Also, a disclaimer before I get a whole bunch of comments telling me that ghosts aren't real. If you don't believe in ghosts, that's fine. I definitely do based on my own experiences, but you don't have to believe in it. Just look at it as like telling a story. I don't know. It's my own thing. Alright, moving on. Let's go. So, it all started when I was really little. I mean, a lot of the stories I've been told, I don't even remember. I was too young to remember them. But, it started off, this was the very first thing I've heard of when I was, young. And this is apparently the first weird thing that has ever happened in regards to me. So, my mom was up in the middle of the night, and she heard these two Cabbage Patch doll, like, toys that I had. There were two and they were connected, and you press their stomachs and they would like have a conversation with themselves and they would like banter to each other. And I guess they were going off in the middle of the night. My mom assumed I was like going and playing when I shouldn't have because it was early. Like, that would be really bad if I was up that late. And she went to go yell at me for being up, and she goes in my room and I'm asleep. But they're still talking to each other, so naturally she's like, what? So she goes, she's freaked out, and she turns off the dolls. Well, she goes to turn off the dolls, and turns out, I guess the dolls were already turned off. So my mom immediately was like, fuck that, and then threw them away. As you should do if weird things start to happen. You don't invite it in and be like, oh, what's gonna happen if I don't know, just don't do that. Just don't, just throw it away. Okay. But that was the first thing. And back when that happened, I lived in really rural Pennsylvania, in the middle of the forest. No one was around, and it was beautiful, but kind of creepy, especially when it was like foggy. But I've had a lot of weird things happen. I lived in kind of a smaller house, and family members would tell me that they would see like full-on apparitions in my room, like with me. And I apparently had like an imaginary friend that I was very, very fond of when I was younger. So that's great. Some weird shit surrounding that. And eventually, after all that weird stuff happened there, I moved out here, and things got progressively worse. So, I was probably around 8 years old, and there was this clock right in front of like the door to my bathroom. I don't know why the noises were coming from the clock or like the general area of the clock, but it was like right by my door, and that shit freaked me out so bad. And the only way I can describe this noise was like if you take one of those Elmo toys, like Tickle Me Elmo, and then you put like mostly dead batteries in it, and then you play with the toy. That's the kind of noise that I was hearing coming from like within my bedroom as an 8-year-old, like frequently. It started off once, and I immediately told my dad. I was like, Dad, yo, there's a ghost in my room, Dad. And he was like, it's just birds. And I'm like, okay. So stuff like that would happen all the time. I would hear banging. I would constantly feel like I was being watched all the time in this room. There was like tapping on my walls, and I would like tap back, so I was a dumb bitch, and I would tap back, and then I'd be like, why? But yeah, like horrible, like horrifying shit that I didn't really fully understand at the time, but I mean, obviously it scared me a little bit. And eventually to grow more comfortable with it, and I didn't understand that you should never do this. Please never do this. Do not name things that are in your house. But I was young. I was scared of this thing, whatever it was. So I decided, alright, Todd. Your name is Todd. So I start referring to this thing as Todd, and whenever it would act up, I'd be like, Todd, stop. Like, you're really stressing me out. Like, you're really freaking me out. Can you stop? And, it progressed. And eventually, like, I started having friends over, and I'd have to explain what Todd was and what all these noises were, and I'd have to, like, constantly apologize, which I still have to do, by the way. When people come to my house, I have to be like, hey, if some weird shit happens and it really scares you and you're, like, traumatized, I apologize. But, like, my, one of my two friends that I was really good friends with, they would say that they saw, like, crawling on the floor, like a dark shadow crawling towards them on the floor. And so one day I get a call and I'm like, hello? And it was this man I've literally never met before in my entire life, but apparently he knew my friend, and he's talking to me about things I didn't mention to anyone. And he's like, hey, so she doesn't want to be called Todd anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean she? So turns out this thing that was in my room was a little girl, which made a lot of sense because it was never really threatening and never tried to hurt me, but it was like kind of being mischievous and like trying to fuck with me a little bit. So she was a little girl and she decided she wanted to be called Tony. So he tells me to call her Tony from now on, and Tony is still around. Not as much as she was when I was younger because we were closer to the same age, and now I'm like an adult and she's not, unfortunately. But she's definitely still around, and she kind of grew distant once I moved to the area of the house that I'm in now. So that's when stuff starts to get really, really bad, is when I moved down here. I would hear tapping at first, and then I would hear, like, it sounded like teeth chattering, like in cold air, just like shivering, chattering, but coming from within my walls. And then I would lay my head down, and then I would hear it in my pillow. And, like, I could never fucking go to sleep because I would hear it all the time. I would, like, hear moving. I don't know how to explain it, but you just hear movement. Like, if I'm like, that's movement. That's what I'd hear. Like, in my room, I'd hear things moving around. Things would be misplaced. I would set something somewhere, and then I wouldn't see it until, like, 5 months later, when it's right there, sitting in plain sight, and I knew it wasn't there before. So there would be all sorts of weird things like that happening, and I would hear, like, whispering on occasion, and I felt like I was being watched 24/7, and these things that kind of seemed like innocent spirits slowly turned into things that were, like, shitty and had bad intentions, and that's when it started to get a little bit dangerous. And I haven't had any too bad experiences. Like, a couple of my friends felt like they were being chased around, and they've seen things and they've heard things. Like, my friend, my best friend, was sitting upstairs and she saw a full apparition of a man standing in the entrance to the basement, which is where I stay. And that freaked her out. She did not want to go downstairs after that. She is the only friend of mine that stays over anymore, and she fucking hates it. Every night she stays over, I have to drink a Red Bull because I fall asleep. I'm used to it. Like, this shit scares me, but I'm not like Ghost Virgin anymore. Like, I've been there, man, okay? And, like, I have to chug a Red Bull, so I stay up all night with her so she doesn't get freaked out. It's kind of ridiculous. But, anyways, so this stuff started happening, and eventually it's escalated into what it was last night. Now, I've had things scratch me. I've had things show up on my hand. I had something that looked like something was grabbing me. Only, you know how when you get burned, it's, like, reflective, like you have shiny skin, like it melted your skin? It was like that, but like someone grabbing me, and it was on there for a good 2 weeks, and that shit hurt. It hurt like I stuck my hand in an oven. And that's bizarre, because I would have the same night terrors every night. I would have, like, sleep paralysis all the time, and I would wake up screaming, and I'd talk in my sleep. I'd say things that didn't make any sense, which arguably I was sleeping, so, like, it wouldn't make sense, but, like, weird shit, like, really weird, creepy shit in my sleep. And, So last night is one of the most recent occasions that was extremely, extremely bad. So I have this person named Chris, and Chris is my very, very, very best friend. So Chris and I, we Skype every single day. There's not a day that we do not talk. So last night we were Skyping, and neither of us could sleep because we were both really sad and really freaked out for no reason. So it rolls around like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, dude, I am freaking exhausted. And he's like, me too, man. So we lay down, and I like fall asleep for like a second, and he falls asleep too. So we're like tired, whatever, and all of a sudden I wake up and I hear Chris screaming, like yelling for me. He's yelling my name, and I'm like, what do you want? Like, I've been awake for hours. Like, can you please just let me go to bed? And he's like, you're not safe. And I was like, what? And then he tells me, proceeds to explain what this sound that he heard sounded like. He said it was like someone was like coughing or like burping up water. Like if like a air bubble were to escape from under the water, like a swamp. Like he said it was a really swampy noise. Like and there was just like a really horrible feeling of dread, and I immediately, my entire body like fills with panic. Obviously because he's screaming and I just woke up, but also because I did not feel fucking good. I was expecting to like look up and like see something trying to kill me. It was not good. And so I start feeling like burning. And I don't say burning like it's like, oh my god, it's hot. But I'm saying like 100 degree, like I work in a coffee shop, right? If I spill like that hot ass milk on me, that's what it felt like. It felt like I spilled like steamed milk on my ankles and my feet, and I feel pulling, just as if it was someone who was physically there on my legs, like real life pulling on my legs, moving me down my bed. And I start panicking, and I'm like, holy shit, like something's touching me, like something is grabbing me. And it's humid, like the air around my feet is humid and it like wet, like my feet were wet after being touched by whatever touched me. I've never had that happen before. I've never been physically dragged, and the fact that something is preying on me that has enough energy to manifest itself and physically drag my heavy ass, like, no, I don't want that. So, yeah, but like the best way I've been able to describe that feeling was like if I was, you know when you're wearing like soggy shoes, like you accidentally stepped in a puddle and like you've got lakes in your shoes and you're sloshing around in there. It was like that, but like imagine the water was like 100 degrees, like you stepped in lava. That's how my foot was. That was horrible, and I did not sleep a whole lot the rest of that night. I barely got any sleep last night, and holy shit, I was so scared. And like, so after that happened with me, and I tell him what happened, he got a weird feeling, and I also got a weird feeling that something was with him. So he gets out of bed, and he starts panicking, and he tries to put on his flashlight on his phone, but something unplugged his charger, and he had 5%, so his flashlight wouldn't turn on because his phone's almost dead. So he goes to flick on his like actual room light, and it's not working. And we found out after that both of his light bulbs like were burnt out simultaneously. So it was just a weird, creepy night last night. And about 10 minutes ago, this is the second time I filmed this video. It's frustrating, but I like looked and the light switched on, and I was like, oh, it's probably like someone just turning on the light. Like, no biggie, someone just turned on the light. And I go to look out there because I was like, alright, before I film this again, I gotta make sure they don't need anything. And no one is out there. No one. Absolutely no one is out there. And I'm like, fuck, maybe I shouldn't be talking about this. But you know what? I talked about it. I'm going to talk about it again. There's going to be more of these videos for sure because I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of dumb things that I've done involving things such as Ouija boards and not learning from my mistakes with them. And that caused me a whole lot of trouble. So we will find out about that in the next video. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. we're planning to do an exploration video coming up very soon. I kind of want to leave it as a surprise, but you're gonna like it. We have some really good ideas, so subscribe, turn on notifications so you can see that good stuff, man. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry if it was just rambling. We had a nice chit chat. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me some suggestions if you have any, and maybe tell me some of your experiences. But I'll catch you in the next video.